There's a lot riding on the success of Downing Street's new budget, given the current state of the world's fifth largest economy. The main concern for most consumers will be inflation, which reached a multi-decade high of more than 11% in October. The British economy is also on the brink of a recession, with GDP shrinking slightly in the third quarter. That means fewer jobs and lower incomes for households and smaller profits for businesses. Reversing the decline will be difficult given the government's pile of debt that stands at close to $3 trillion, and economic prospects for next year aren't bright either.
The OBR forecasts the UK's inflation rate to be 9.1% this year and 7.4% next year. They confirm that our actions today help inflation to fall sharply from the middle of next year. They also judge that the UK, like other countries, is now in recession. Overall this year, the economy is still forecast to grow by 4.2%. GDP then falls in 2023 by 1.4%, before rising by 1.3%, 2.6% and 2.7% in the following 3 years.
For more on this now, let's go to Denis MacShane, who is former British MP and Minister for Europe. Many thanks for being with us today. First of all, what sort of impact do you think this new budget will have on Tories' popularity and on inflation, which seems to be one of the main concerns at the moment?
The reception in the House of Commons was very, very, very flat. This is not good for the vast majority of British people. They're facing a triple whammy. The country's going into recession. The inflation is at the highest level in 40 years. And wages are no longer covering the cost of living. So some of the biggest unions have announced strikes on the basis of secret ballots. So it's going to go into a fairly turbulent time. What Mr. Sunak's doing, I think, is buying a little time. He's putting a lot of this off till after the next election, but he's going to have to get from here till 2024, and so many of the signals still in the economy, in society, in social tension, in poverty, in regional disparities and inequalities are very, very negative. And this budget is a technical one that will please the IMF probably, and Mr. Sunak, of course, is an ex-banker from Goldman Sachs, ex-hedge fund manager, so he's giving his old colleagues something. But I'm not sure the country's waking up tomorrow morning or later today saying, wow, we've cracked all our problems.
Absolutely. We're going to see the impact on markets later on in the session and tomorrow as well. But the Bank of England has projected that the UK is at the beginning of its longest recession on record. What's the trajectory you have in mind when it comes to growth for the UK's economy going into next year?
Well, we don't really know. Earlier this year, the Bank of England said that Britain would have a positive growth rate next year, 1.8%. Now it's announced a recession. And what Mr. Hunt hasn't mentioned, and Mr. Sunak never mentions, of course, is the fact we've cut all links with Europe in terms of trade. I go to my local supermarket where I live near Westminster, and quite often shelves are empty because we can't get the workers to deliver even the food and other things that are making. There's a shortage of eggs everywhere in the country. Christmas turkeys are going to be very hard to find, we're told. So really Britain feels much more like, when I used to travel around East Europe in the 1970s or 80s. I don't want to exaggerate at all, but it's just not really a very happy country. One sad thing, I think, is they're taking away the slight relief for electric vehicles. Now, if I go out and buy an electric vehicle, I've got to buy a new car. I could have been sure that the annual tax we pay in England would not be on the electric vehicle to encourage me to buy one. Now the annual tax will be on it. We've lost all our electric vehicle production to China principally, the giant British Volt factory that was meant to produce electric batteries for cars. That's been stopped. So, there's just not much moving at the moment in Britain, unfortunately.
Denis MacShane, many thanks for your interesting analysis.